Good afternoon and welcome everybody. It's time for a Saturday afternoon bit of development. Let's get the mic a bit closer. Right, okay. We are taking over from last night. Now, we were having problems with the trading screen and the resupply. I worked on it a bit last night. And then basically, for some reason, Unreal Engine didn't save it. And I'm not too unhappy about that. Because what we're going to do, and what I've realised we should do, or I should do, you guys don't really need to do anything. But what we're going to do is do things properly, shall we? And by properly, what I mean is this. This might take a second to load, guys, but it will be there in a second. No, that was fine. Right, so here's the problem. Well, number one, the code that I thought was wrong last night has been reintroduced. So we're going to have to sort that out. Right, let's sort that out first, shall we? And it's not in here, it's in trading main when we actually do our, it's this part here. And we basically delete that. And yep, that's right. Save that. Okay. So, with that in mind, that ain't gonna work. Because we just accidentally wait a minute, undo that. Right, so it's VB slots, delete that, put that back, move that over to there, and you can join that up again. Okay, back in business. Right, so basically, we don't want to do that. So what we actually want to do is that still scares me a bit. So we're gonna have to check that. But anyway, yeah, we've done. This is now sitting at 100 instead of it actually should be 500. So we've lost all our values in our controller. So we've lost quite a few little dinky do bits that we need to actually set this up. So the products available, it's not copper ore that we need, it is, well, we can test it on both. That was a good guess at which one was the copper sheet. Anyway, right, so we'll save that. Now, I want to see, let's just check this code here, right? And what we should really do is move this right? And this should go in here. And we should actually set it here. Okay. Let's see if that works better for us. There we go. That's better. Now we're in business. Okay, so if we do that, we're getting the right number. Iron sheet 500, that doesn't seem right. Although it might be right. Okay. Now, last night we were looking at this, and basically these buttons were still enabled. Okay. But what we're going to do now is we're going to switch them on and off depending on whether or not the final value is the same as our restock value. Okay, so in theory, if we look at our buttons, this button and this button, button purchase single and button purchase all, should actually be turned off if the quantity is at the resupply maximum. Okay, so when they've hit this button, then what we should do is look at these values. Right, so in this case we set text in the it's amount to transfer. This is the variable that's deciding whether or not those buttons should be visible or hidden. Okay, so in here we're going to get our actually we're going to be doing it here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is do that, then that one's going to join on there. Right, and then we're going to write another function is transfer amount Actually, you know what we could do? We could forget that idea completely. Because in our clamp amount, right, if we have to clamp it, then we can basically say we can add another output, right, that basically says at limit, and in that case that's going to be true. Okay, so we can go back to our event graph, and we can do a branch right, and this goes in here. Now, I'm still beginning to think this isn't quite right, but we'll work with it. In fact, it will be right. It's fine. This is going in here, because these buttons, you won't be able to hit them again. So if it's at the limit, then we get, these are the purchase all, purchase single. Right? Then both of these, we shall set the visibility to hidden. Okay, we'll not worry too much about the looks of this. We shall tidy this up all in good time. Okay. So this now makes a bit more sense. Oh yeah. And basically, if they then, okay, let me do a Control W on this, please. Thank you. Right, so if they do either of these things, then these go to visible. Okay. So we're still getting the wrong number there, but you'll notice right, that's okay, that's okay. We're going to live with that and fix it. Okay. But that, if this is at 250, these two shouldn't show, right? I.e. can't sell anymore. Okay, so we'll cancel that for now. So what we need to do is set this up. The amount to transfer is on the right, the item quantity is on the left. Okay, so what we should actually do here is set these up within our clamp purchase amount. Okay, so let's take a look at the logic here. I'll stop that for now. What we've got to do is we've got to see what values come in and then adjust the amount to transfer and the item quantity depending on what came in. Okay? So, from that point of view, right, in this case, it's going to be 1. And in this case, it's going to be the value on the left. Okay. So let's work our way through this. And find out what we need to do. Right? So, if we hit this button, right, we'll step into so the amount to clamp is that. The item quantity is 500. Okay. So let's break this up, right, into values so that we've not got lines going everywhere, okay? That's what we'll do. So let's simplify this a bit. Let's make this more simple for ourselves, shall we? I think that makes a heck of a lot more sense. Right, so we're going to rename this. And we're going to say temp current stock. We'll call it temp ship current. Okay. And the two we're using here is current stock level. And then we're going to have max stock level. Okay. So we click on that and we say temp ship max level, and that's going to be an integer. Okay, and what we shall do in this case is we're going to break that, right, and then we're going to move all of this out of the way, right, and then we're going to set this, and we're going to set this, and rather than rerouting things and getting confused about what's going on, right, we're going to set up our temp E item, right, and that's going to be an E item, okay, and I'm not too sure if we actually need this one or not, but we'll set it anyway. And we'll probably end up setting it first, actually. I really don't actually think we need this. Nah, we don't. We don't. So we'll just delete it. Right. So let's do the crazy thing and just delete all of this crap and leave ourselves with a nice tidy thing that we can use much better. So we've got restock level goes there, current stock level goes there. We can do that. We can rearrange these to make it tidier. Don't need to do this obviously, but hey-ho, let's be clean and tidy about this since we're going about this and doing it right this time. Taking our time, getting the values right, doing the calculations right, and sorting this crap out once and for all. So for here, we're going to straighten the reroute node, and for here, we're going to straighten the reroute node. Okay, so now we need to do, we're going to obviously pull from here, okay, which is fine, that's cool, we can work with that. But now all we do is bring back these and set these variables. So this is going to make it a lot cleaner for us, right? So we've got two values that we're going to set: the amount to transfer and the item quantity, right? These are the two values that we're interested in, okay? So after that we break, because we've got our correct item. So we can do that. And now we check the amount to clamp if it's greater than our restock level, which is that, right, so we branch we plug this in here. Okay. If that's the case, then we set these two values to something. And in actual fact, we're going to do that under both circumstances. But let's do this part first. So, if the amount that we're trying to give the ship is greater than the ship's wait a minute. We need to do a plus here. We need to break this actually. Right? Because we need to get this value here. So it's this plus that. So if that plus that, we'll tidy this up later, guys, don't worry. Okay. So move this whole lot along a bit. Work on it from there. Bring this, fix that up later, okay? So, if the restock level, sorry, it's the ship's current level is that right? For some reason I'm having a brain freeze on this one thing. Right, if the current plus this so this should go in here, and if that is greater than this, then we should do something. Okay, so if the current stock level plus the amount passed in is greater than the ship max, okay, then basically, let's think this through. Then we take the ship max level minus this value, no we don't, it's that minus the current. So this is the space in the ship that we are allowed to fill up is the restock max level minus the current stock level, right? So let's think about this again for a second. Let's add another variable here, right? And let's say it's called ship. This might make it a bit clearer for us rather than trying to do all these calculations in our head at once. So we shall call this ship available space, right? And what we'll do is it's going to be an integer, and we're going to set it, right? And it's going to be this minus this value here, okay? Then this will go in the ship available space. That'll make it a bit easier for us to visualize and process in our mind. Well, at least for me, because as I said, for some reason I can't get a train of thought going on this particular topic, right? So we can basically take this away, right? So we've got an available space, okay? Hey Kofi, how you doing? We're still working away on this resupply thing. I've had a rethink about how to do the whole right. So in actual fact, this whole thing can go, right? Because all we actually need to do is check if this is greater than the ship available space. Or should it be equal to as well? It should be greater than or equal to. God damn it. Right, so we've calculated our available space. We can now quickly just check it. I'm good, mate. How are you today? So if this is greater than or equal to the available space, right, then our item quantity equals the max load, right? And the item to transfer becomes this number here minus the available space. Okay. And that should be the code that switches off those buttons. Oh. What's going on? Remaining quantity. Yeah. In actual fact, we don't need these. Okay. We do we? Yeah, I think we do. So what we do here is we do need a return on this. Okay. Hide buttons. Okay. So that is going to return hide the buttons. So if we save that, transfer amount, yep, refresh that, okay, and then these are going to go. And we're going to do another branch here. So that's going to go to there. Okay, we'll fix that up in a minute. Right, so this is going to go to here. So if we're hiding the buttons, we do that. We do this. And if we're not, we just drop in, right? And for this one, it's basically the same thing. As I said, we'll tidy this up once we're confident that this is working how it should. Okay, so we'll save that. Let's try to see where we are. Well, that's weird. Okay. That gave us some weird numbers, I have to admit. Okay, so let's break it here, right? So do that. Okay. So we've got 500, which is right. Then we've got our max level is 200. Our ship current is 73. So our space should be 127, which is correct. Ah, hang on a second. So that's true. So if 500 that gives us 127. So we should see 127 in there. Resume that, right? The amount to transfer is saying 127, but it's actually not. Okay. Let's try that again. So if we can move 173, then we should see 173 on the right. And 327 on the left. Right? So let's change this for now. So it's actually this number here should be here. And it should be the space available that goes in here. Right? Resume that. Yep, that's right. Okay, that's correct at this point. The problem being that this is actually this number plus another number, which brings it to 250. Okay, because if we look at our restock values for copper sheet, right, our restock level 250. So it was 250 minus 73, okay? Because if we hit our buy button, you'll notice that copper sheet has got 92. Right? Which is beginning to bring me to the realization that this maybe has to be on one screen, on one like list. Or at least when we bring this number here, this begins to kind of make not an awful lot of sense, because if you click on that, right, press resume, then you're thinking to yourself, hang on a second, how come I can only put that in there? I mean, I suppose the player can work it out their bloody selves, but right, so we can do that. So in theory, let's check this again. If we resume that, right? That's good. Resume that. Right, that's what we want. That's kind of cool. Resume that. That's brought that to 0. Yep, that's okay. Because we haven't done this false part. Right? So, stop that just now. So if this is not greater than the available space, right, then we basically do this again. Delete that. Right, but our quantities are going to be different. So the amount to transfer is going to be the amount to transfer plus the item quantity. So that's going to be that plus this. And this is going to be the item quantity minus this quantity here. That should go in there, that should go in there, that should not hide the buttons, and that should basically just pop in here, and that should be us. And then we'll be just about ready for some tidying up, if of course this works. So F5. Let's try this. If we click once, then it should go to here, and this value should be 1, except it's not. Okay. That should actually go in there as well. And that should be there. Okay, this doesn't look quite right to me. Let's press play. Let's see what we've got. Let's follow it through to its logical conclusion. So copper sheet 1. Okay, so we step over. What? What are these values? 501, 501. Well, that's not right. Okay. So break that. So we should just be passing in 1. So with that in mind, what we got here, 1, 1. So we step over. Right, so this isn't right. No, that is right. Right, so that gives us a 499 minus 1, okay? And now if we do that, it should step over 193. And this is going to be a weird number by the looks of it. 307. Now, is that right? Apparently. Right. $308,192. If we move these all back, our problem here is that, yeah, we've got one more check to do. We need one more check because if you add 1, it's not over the space, but well, actually, you know what we can do? We can stop that. We can do a quick check at the end here to find out if the amount to transfer plus the available space equals the max. Yeah. Okay, so what I'm going to do, guys, is I'm going to go and have a smoke and a drink of Coke, or orange juice probably, and I shall be back in about 2.5 minutes. So bear with me, guys, be right back. I heard that, thanks for the subscription. Back in a minute. Okay guys, we're back. Now I think we've just about broken the back of this problem, and we need one more little thing in here, and that's going to be our current stock level. Right, so we need our local variables. So we need ship current plus amount to transfer if that is greater than or equal to right, we can actually stick this on top of here. Or we could stick it under. Doesn't matter. We're going to do a branch. Right? So, we branch we drag this down a bit, and there we go. So if it is greater than or equal to, we hide the buttons, and if not, we don't hide the buttons. Okay? And hopefully, fingers crossed, that should work. So let's try it, shall we? So, if we get to the max, we hide the buttons, right? If we take it back one, we show the buttons again. If we click that, we hide the buttons. Okay, I think that's working. It's hard to tell because of the current stock and the way that it's refreshing the maybe we should try that actually. Maybe we should tidy this up a bit as well. Right, let's tidy this up a bit first. Well, we can't if we're running. Goofball. Right. Pull this back a bit. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to our rocket, right? And basically we're not going to refresh supplies. We're going to leave everything at 0. Now the question might be here, we may actually need to do this. But in that, we'll just say that, right? So we're setting the current stock of everything to 0. So let's try that. So this should basically go 250, 250. Actually it goes 200, 200, 300, 200. And that's 300. Okay, so if we click there, we get 201. If we click here, we get 300. If we click here, it goes back. That's not right. Okay, so we need our breakpoint back in here. Something not quite right here. Okay, so if we click our 1, we've got this 0, which is right, and the amount to transfer is 1. So that's 1. And if that is greater than or equal to, it's going to be the ship max. I don't know why I've put, don't know guys, don't know. I stand completely corrected on that one, having not put that value in there. Right, so ship max level. Save that. Okay. Wait a minute. Right, okay. I'm happy with that. So that's 200. So if 1 is greater than 200, then we hide the button, so that should be good. So we resume. Fine. If we do this, it hides them. If we do 1, if we click that and resume, it hides them. Perfect. There we go, guys. Who would have thought that that could have been so much simpler than the stuff we were doing last night? Well, that's not strictly true, but we broke it down into its constituent parts. And we've basically fixed it from there. Okay. And it's looking a lot cleaner and better. We can basically tidy this up by dragging these in a bit, dragging this in a bit. dragging these while I'm doing this. By the way, guys, I've got started a new series on my YouTube channel. Started it yesterday. It's basically Unreal Engine basics, and the first episode is about enumerators. So if you guys are learning Unreal Engine, might be worth to check out, as well as the live stuff, obviously, because we do stuff in real time. But yeah, there's that. You can check that out. And we straighten that. Double click on that. Pull this down into here. We'll straighten this. Pull this up a bit. We'll drag it over here. And then we'll straighten that up a bit. And then we'll straighten to reroute node. And there we go. That's all now looking a bit cleaner. So we'll save that. So now we can basically plug our rocket ship back in. We do want to do something like that. Probably could be moving this whole load of stuff to the right a bit, just to give it a bit more breathing space. I'm kind of procrastinating now. And actually, one of the things I want to actually take a look at, right, is the camera. Right? Because the camera at this angle, it seems to be way too high. Right? And it's given a far too... So we're looking at the pawn, right? And we're not actually looking at the pawn. What we're actually looking at is the camera up here. Right? And basically, we're going to have to if I bring the sort of axis of the camera down, You notice that's actually even worse. So we'll stop that for now. Can we undo that? I don't know if that's done that or not. Right, let's have a different look at the camera here, right? So the camera is up there. If we look at it front, right, there we go. That's a better angle. So in theory, our camera is now at a sort of 45 there. So if we play that, let's have a look at placing a building down. Yeah, that is kind of a much better view of things. Let's do, yeah, that's given us a much better view of things, to be honest. Right. I'm liking that much better. Right, so we're actually going to save that. What's going on? We've got 2 of these open. We've got the project open twice here. Right. Which scares the absolute crap out of me. Because now it's not going to allow me to save it. Right, I'll tell you what guys. We're going to do a quick full screen that, right? Then we're going to print screen it, because if I lose this, I'm not going to be pleased. Right. So I'll tell you what we'll do, right? If we go to maps and we double click this, right, so that tells us which one we're on, right? So we can basically shut this down. Don't save. then we can go back in here and file, save all, right? Then we can go back to our main menu. That was nearly a disaster, but we've still got our code. And if we go back to our pawn, and we save that, everything should save okay, right? And we should now be able to go, and yeah, that's kind of better, isn't it, guys? You guys agree that looks better? I'm definitely thinking so. Right, okay, we're definitely going to have some fun, right? We need a bit of fun on a Saturday afternoon, so we're going to put that back to perspective. We're going to close our pawn, and then what we're going to do is we're going to go to a refiner, buildings, refiner, right? And we do have chimneys. Now I don't know where they are. There's one there, right? So we've only got one chimney, right? But we're going to put it there. We're going to have a bit of fun with this. I demand some fun. Right, we should really now do this with like left and right and shit. Right? Put it about there. Zoom in a bit. We'll change the scale that we can move it down to 5. Move it to there. Move it to there. Then we'll go front. That looks good to me. Okay. So we've got our smokestack, right? And we've got it selected. So we're going to add a component, Niagara particle, and smoke. Then perspective, save that. Doesn't like that. Oh, yeah, that's cool. Chim 1 is actually the Niagara component. Right? So we should be able to refresh that. Now the wonder of this is whether this actually works or not, right? It should, in theory, because I had it working before. Right, that's obviously now for the second chimney, which is actually now removed. So we'll move this up here a bit. We don't need this all the way over here. So what we'll do is we'll delete that and we'll move this right over to here. So basically, if it isn't processing, then it doesn't do the particles, but if it is processing, then it does. So what we need to do here first, right, is it's not going to do it under simulation. Right, what we'll do is we'll select the default scene and we shall add our particle system, and there's our smoke. And there's our smoke there. Yep, we'll take that. That's fine. So that's cool. So we can save that. So now what we'll do is if we press play, we do that, then we basically do our probes. I'm kind of thinking now what we need is like I think we need a character. I'm coming to the conclusion that we kind of need a character. Because it's kind of difficult to put down the conveyor belts in the manner I've got it at the moment without any sort of help. Right? Now this is giving us bauxite, so this why is that not? Yeah, I know why. But we should see smoke coming out of here. Once it starts doing shit. Now, my question is, why is it never hitting here? Why is it never reaching this point? Right, so it's hitting it. Right? And it says false. Bauxite. So it needs bauxite. Right. Resume that. Resume that. So hang on a minute. Right, am I just losing my head here? Okay. Okay. Resume that. Disable that. Right, what I actually want to do here is, if we go to the map, right, what I want to check is if this, what the settings are for these refiners, right? And actually what we're going to do is we're going to delete one of the refiners. The current recipe is none. So that's the reason why. Right, because it didn't have a proper recipe. So what we actually need to do is build it ourselves. Except, no, I shouldn't make it. I don't know if it'll make a difference or not. Continue that. Right. We start our probe here. And we can actually build a refinery up here. This was all just to have a little bit of fun. Right, so we want to build our conveyor belt. So we can do it like this, like this. Okay. And we can't bring that up. It is bauxite. So we should have defaulted to nothing. Or sorry, to, let's see what we actually defaulted to. So we've got a refiner here. It's iron ore, so that's okay. We should be getting smoke. Comp input is bauxite. If I've still got what an idiot. Right, what I think it is I've still got this set to, give me a second guys, I've still got this set to, it's in the spliner. Right, this BP output object I think is an instance which wasn't working. Right, so we've actually got to look at this, back to buildings and this BP output object. Yeah, it's doing the instance mesh thing. Now what we know is we haven't found a resolution to this. I have got a plan round about it, right, but in the meantime this has to go to here and this has to go to here. And then in our construction script, our code has to go to here instead. Right? This was me trying to get it to work. I had read some C++, and they were saying they had problems getting it to do anything if you hadn't reset mobility and then reset your collisions and then reset your simulated physics and stuff. So I tried to do all that. Still didn't work. I mean, I suppose you could try it after you do this part. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, I know this works. And we shall hope that our probe now oh yeah, that's what we're doing. We're doing it on this side, weren't we? So we'll build it over here just a bit, and I'll give you a reason why in a minute. It's basically because if this is the wrong type of miner, then I'm going to need to redo it. So it's copper, right, which is the one we don't want. So we'll fire off some probes again. Okay, so well, hopefully this isn't another copper, because that'd be kind of rubbish. Oh, there we go. So we can now build our conveyors. And we should now get, there we go, or not, disable that, resume that, and there's our activate, disable that. So just to show you what's going to happen, it's basically when it's processing, that's going to be going, then it'll die down, so that's good. Basically there's going to be effects getting fired off if the machine is working and it's processing stuff. So that's the plan behind it, and you can see that there. I wonder, so it's show if it's start FPS. So that's actually not an issue right now, but once I start putting a lot of these down with a lot of static meshes getting passed around, then that's when this becomes a problem. So the idea is that we do instance meshes, right? And we no longer trigger the entry to, whether it's a refinery, a splitter, or whatever. What we do is we basically, when it completes its travel along the spline, right, which I can show you where the code will change. If we go to the event graph, it is basically here when it finished. When it finishes, it'll destroy the actor, but first it'll transfer itself to the object that it needs to do. So you can see me actually starting to write some of the code where I'm checking if it's a building or if it's a connector, right? And finding out from there whether I'm actually going to connect. I'm going to obviously have to do some sort of an interface call. Probably. Yeah, we could do an interface call. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. That's what we'll do, in fact. That's what we'll think about. Maybe doing that tonight, or first having a first look at it tonight and how we're going to do this. But as I said, if we start putting like lots of splitters and lots of, like if I hit the up key here a few times, basically I'm adding workers. So this is now going to speed up. And you'll notice that this will go down. Our frame rate is going down a bit. So what I'm thinking is, I mean, we can demonstrate that, right? We're at, let's say 60 frames a second, okay? If I go to my output object, right, and I plug basically these two in here, so we're going to use our instance mesh, right? We can save that, and if we go to our construction script, right, we can plug this into here. We can save that, right? Now, what you'll see here is the fact that we have a frame rate. I don't know why it's so bad actually. Well, actually I might do. No, we'll leave it as it is, right? We're on 60 odd. So what we'll do is we'll build our refinery and we'll stick it here, round about the same spot as before. We'll send our probes to about, let's say, here. Right, and we basically going to hope that this is the right thing. What I could do in the meantime actually is do another one just in case it's not the right thing. Okay. can check this out. That's bauxite. Right, so that's fine. We don't need that other one. But in the meantime, builder conveyor. Now you'll notice that we haven't lost any frames at all, right? You see, we're not losing any frames at all. So the instance meshes are definitely doing their job for us, right? Whereas the other ones, the actual just static meshes were, and they were causing us a problem pretty early on. Right? So, with that in mind, as I said, I'll be back around 8 o'clock tonight. If you hadn't already, please subscribe. Check out the descriptions for ways you can support the channel, as well as join the Discord. Thank you very much for joining me, and I shall see you all this evening, hopefully. Bye bye for now.